Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ngom. Today we're talking all about content creation. I have been doing this for over 13 years, which is crazy, of creating content on a consistent basis that has been seen millions of times between our podcast and our blog and email list and Facebook ads, like a lot. So I wanted to give you some of the lessons that I've learned over the past 13 years that have helped me create content and will help you. So I've actually run into quite a few people recently that are like, "Oh, I want to start a podcast," or like, "I feel like I have something to share." So let's get into it, okay? So I just have some practical tips for you. First thing is to create content before you consume content. And this is just a habit to get into. It's really easy, really easy to like first thing in the morning, pick up your phone and start scrolling. And then before you know it, the day is halfway done and you haven't actually created anything for you. Um, so, and like I've been guilty of this too, especially with the election and like everything that's happened. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Do we have a country? What's happening? So it really is a habit to get into. And as with any habit, you just want to make it easy for you to do. So I've downloaded some social media blocking apps on my phone, or you can delete apps on your phone. I'm trying to see like which ones I had downloaded recently. Um, Social Focus, Untrap, Screen Zen. I found a YouTube video of a guy who's like, instead of getting a dummy phone, get this instead. So figure out a way to help you just stay focused. I feel like, I don't know, as the years go on, it's gotten increasingly harder and harder to actually stay focused and getting stuff done with everything that we're bombarded with. So if you can do this one thing, create content before you consume content, you are already ahead of the game and you are already winning. And if that's the only thing you take out of this episode, it's a good thing. So write that down. Create before you consume and figure out a way to make that like an actual habit for you. Um, just whatever you got to do, make that happen. Create content when you're at your best mentally. So for me, that's in the morning. If I have to do it in the evening, I will, but 99% of the time I'm creating content in the morning just because I'm like peak mental state. I've been up since 5:15 this morning. Now it's 9 o'clock. This is like go time for me. So this is when I know I'm at my peak mentally. By the time we get to like lunch in the afternoon, I'm already starting to fade since I woke up so early. So if you can, create when you're at your best mentally. Know what kind of content you shine in. So are you really good at writing? Maybe you're going to create blog posts or, like long form content. Are you really good at short form content? Maybe you have TikTok or whatever. Are you really good at just speaking and having conversations with people? Maybe you have a podcast. So know what kind of content you shine in and don't try to do everything. Just focus and double down on that one thing. Stay consistent, and I'll give you a few ideas to stay consistent, but this really is key to building platforms online. This was probably the week we were like the closest to missing an episode in 6 years of having this podcast. It has gotten a little tricky with me being in school. I'm homeschooling my son now, so it's just like, and I'm helping my husband with our equestrian business. So there's a lot going on. And so I need to also take some of my own advice when it comes to consistency, but we have been consistent with 6+ years every single week, haven't missed a week. So figure out how you can stay consistent, and I'll give you a few tips here too. Don't waste people's time. So when you're creating content, if you can say it in 10 minutes, don't ramble on to make it an hour long. Just to make it an hour long show, get it done in 10 minutes. People are busy. It's rare that I'll sit down and listen to like long pieces of content, although I did with like Joe Rogan lately, with all those interviews he had before the election. Um, but and then I'm like trying to skip through. I'm like, I don't care about this. Um, but know like what kind of content you want to create and just don't waste people's time within that. So again, if you can say it in 10 minutes, say it in 10. Don't take 3 hours. Focus on them, not you. So think about who it is you want to reach with your content and what they need in that moment and create content for them. All right. When it comes to consistency, batch creating content can really help. And so if you set aside specific days for content creation processes, that will help. And if you create multiple podcast episodes or whatever kind of content you're creating, that'll help too. So just set it like just look at your week and then look at, all right, what day can I just set aside for content creation for this specific platform? So it might look like, all right, I have an hour on Mondays that I can do just for a podcast or writing emails or writing Facebook posts, creating TikToks, whatever that looks like, but have that literally on your calendar and that will make you just more likely to stay consistent and focused. Repurpose your content. You don't have to repurpose it to be everywhere, but it really helps. Like we take our podcast episodes, repurpose it, and put it, that's like our email content, our social media posts. And that way I'm not having to sit down trying to be consistent, creating all kinds of social media content and creating content for the podcast and creating content for the email. If I just create content for the podcast, then it kind of flows from there. Use a content calendar. So I kind of mentioned like looking at your week, do it at a month's time too. So maybe you're like super busy and you're like, I only have 2 hour chunks that I could do during the month where I can realistically set aside time for creating content. So do that. But if you have it, like I remember when I first started the podcast and this business and everything, I had like a whiteboard calendar and I had it laid out because I was like, I was trying to do too much, but I was like, all right, Monday is blog post day. Tuesday is YouTube day. Wednesday is email day. Thursday is, I don't know what day it was. Like creating posts for Instagram or something like that. And I made it harder for myself because I wasn't repurposing content. This is a big one, leveraging AI. And it's going to become more popular. If you want me to create a separate episode on just AI, could you let me know? Just shoot me a DM on Instagram at She's Making an Impact or email clientcare@rachelngom.com. AI, like I did an entire training for our students, like this was over a year ago, on AI and how you can use AI just to make your life so much easier, more efficient. It's going to be great. Like it already is crazy, but over the next several years, I'm like, I heard Elon Musk, like, we're gonna have to find new meaning. Because if you're think about it, like you can literally use AI to write books and like it's yeah, it's getting wild, but I can share just some really simple tips and even prompts and stuff like that that we use for AI because I think that's one of the biggest things is figuring out how to get the most out of it. So knowing what questions to ask and how you can use it. So if you want me to do a specific episode on that, please let me know. Create a content bank. And so we use Asana for our podcast and for a lot of other things within the business. So if you create a content bank, let's say you have an idea, you come across something, you read a book, you get a download from the Lord on like, hey, you need to create something about this, just put it in. So this is literally like our podcast production board in Asana. And I have a do you call it, like a table? I don't know, a group. And it's called solo topic ideas for me to create. And then there, when I have an idea and I have some things that I want to put in there, I just put it there. And that way I don't forget it. Cause don't you know, like you have an idea and then if you don't write it down, it's completely gone. Cause then you're like, kids need something, the dogs need something, the dog pooped in here. The dog did poop in here today. I cleaned it up, of course. But yeah, so write it down and create a content bank. Optimize for SEO, search engine optimization. So if you could use keyword research for your titles, descriptions, and tags, that will help you actually be found in search engines. A big thing that we do with content creation is having guests on the show. I love it because I love having conversations with interesting people. And a lot of times, I mean, it's for your benefit, but a lot of times it's for my benefit of like, oh, this was my teacher. Like I had extra questions that I had to ask them, so, or I've read their book, but I want to know about this, this, and this as well. But then of course, I'm always thinking about you and how we could add value to you as well. But it's a great way to create content without you having to be the one to create the content. And then I kind of talked about this, creating templates and systematizing everything. So again, we use Asana and we have different boards. So we have like all of our links, resources, podcast, pitch, email templates, our schedule spreadsheet, interview templates, solo episode templates. I don't necessarily follow solo episode templates anymore. I did in the beginning. I was like, all right, you need to start with an introduction. You need to say, you need to say this. I had it like written out, and now after you do 500 episodes, you're like, I got it. Hopefully I got it now. So in that board, we also have like applications, people that have applied to be on the show that I can review, people that I want to have as guests on the show that our team reaches out to. And then like we have our team set it up. So like, okay, we contacted them, we're scheduling them, we have our podcast booking dates. The interview prep is ready, it's recorded. It's published, so on and so forth. Okay. Okay. So I hope this was helpful, just getting you like in the just thinking in terms of content creation and different hacks that can get you moving. What has been the most helpful? Let me do like a super quick recap in case you've been taking notes, or you can re-listen to this. Create before you consume, create when you're at your best mentally, know what kind of content you shine in, stay consistent, don't waste people's time, focus on them, not you, batch content, repurpose content, use a content calendar, leverage AI, create a content bank, optimize for SEO, guest appearances and collaborations, template and systematize. All right, I hope this is helpful. If you haven't yet, I actually created a free download for you. It's on helping you build your identity in Christ. And if you go to rachelandngom.com/who God says I am, you can grab that for free. Share this with a friend, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.